Holistically, let me start out by saying I heard Senator Gianaris say that this redistricting changes the process of gerrymandering, and I totally agree. It heightens the process of gerrymandering. It does change it to that extent. And for my colleagues, I think you know this. Something happens when you tell a lie. You have to tell another lie to cover it up. Then after you do that, you have to tell another lie to cover up the lie you told to cover up the initial lie. And it goes on and on and on. The most egregious individuals I can think of, and I think your constituents think of that too, is people who take an oath of office. People who ask them to let them represent them. Those are elected officials. Because you take an oath of office not only to adhere to the New York Constitution, but the United States Constitution, to listen to them, to be their representative, and basically to be honest and straightforward. This is the antithesis of what a representative democracy and a representative government is. Now, 10 years ago, which you've been talking about, there was certainly gerrymandering. And there was gerrymandering 10 years before that, and there was gerrymandering 10 years before that. And most of you who are in the majority now were in the minority, like I was in the minority in the New York State Assembly. And we kept talking about we got to change the system for an independent, outside commission. And the do-good groups across the state, the League of Women Voters, all those individuals. The media wanted to have that happen. And you know what? The media wants to have it happen again. That's the fourth estate. That's what you talk about. And there's some conservative media, there's some progressive media. But you can look across the state in the nation today, and they're talking about New York State. I just picked out one today. This is the Washington Post, their opinion piece. New York's Democratic gerrymandering is egregious. The courts must intervene. Let me read that. It's not me, it's not my colleagues. It's not even today what you're hearing from the Republicans and Democrats across New York State. And I'll tell you why it's both parties. It's a media outlet. It's the Times-Union. It's the Gazette here in the Capital Region. 90% of them, the fourth estate, says you are gerrymandering to the highest levels. Not us. And they're the watchdogs. You always rely on them quite a bit. I've been in this room and I've heard you quote the media and all the facts they brought forth. So now you're refuting what our friends from the fourth estate have been saying. After that last 10 years where there was gerrymandering, we came together at some point before we got to this point 10 years later where we're going to go through the same process of redistricting. And we came together and said enough is enough, partially because of all those do-good groups in the public, Republicans and Democrats, a good majority of the 19.5 million people. Let's do it the fair way. Let's have parity. Let's try to take as much politics out of it. Let's think about the people we represent. And you know what? Minorities and majorities, Republicans and Democrats, progressives and conservatives said we'll do it. By a large majority of all of us, we said, let's let the chips fall where we may this time. Something else happened along the way. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle became the majority in this House. More than that, we had one collectively, holistically voice from one affiliation, from one region of the state. You control all levers of power, period. You control all levers of power. You had the ability to adhere to that independent outside commission that you said you supported when you were in the minority. I was in the majority for 2 of the years that I've been here. I've been through several redistrictings. I never was in the majority, but I always was opposed to gerrymandering, disenfranchising the public, especially this one does for upstate New York. And anybody who represents any part of upstate New York, if you're voting for this, you're telling us you don't make a difference. My oath of office doesn't make a difference. You told me And this is the other part of it. After we voted for it, we went to the public and said, you want this? And they ceremoniously said they did. And the reason why I say Republicans and Democrats, because we can't vote for anything and win in New York State unless Democrats vote for it. We can't stop something from happening in the ballot box collectively from New York State unless there's some Democrats by a good number who vote for it. Democrats and Republicans clearly voted for an independent outside commission, because that's what we had going here. But then you said something else, and this is the big lie. This is what's so egregious. It's not only egregious, it's evil, and it's treacherous. And our founding fathers are rolling over in their grave knowing that we're at this point, once again, at the highest level to disenfranchise our citizenry. You said, we got the power, and this is what scares me so much, my colleagues. Do you know how many countries have nuclear weapons? What this says, that people who have the power to do something, most of the time eventually do it. That should scare the hell out of us right now. Because if you can do this, the nuclear option, I'm not satisfied with 2/3 of the control, 43. I want it all. I don't care what I said in that oath of office. I raised my hair, had my family hair, put my left hand on the Bible. I want it all. And it's sad that you got nothing on Pinocchio. I mean, geez, lie after lie after lie, and they get bigger, and that's what you have to do when you lie. So finally you said, I have the power. Why did I not just change my mind? Proposition 1, let's really water it down. If we really water it down, it'll even be more easier to get it in our hands. And who cares what those special do-good groups say, or my public say, or the people I represent say? Well, they sent a message to you. Again, Democrats as well as Republicans. It failed statewide. I don't know, is there 9.5 to 9 million, 9.5 million people in New York City? They didn't even care if you were going to bring more power to them. They said this is wrong, because it wouldn't have passed statewide unless you had a heck of a lot of Democrats voting for it. Real Democrats who care about an oath of office, who care about representative democracy. Because, you know, Republicans and Democrats both really do. And they both say, I'm sure they have a philosophy that they support, but they also believe in a representative democracy. You had the ability to do it, and you took the nuclear option. Now, I've been through several redistrictings, as I said, and yeah, they tried to beat me out. But you know what I did? I did the one thing you didn't do here. I just walked into the district and told them the truth. I told them who I was. I told them what I stood for. I told them what I'll fight for. I told them I'll always represent them. I'll never walk into here and say, hey, what do I want to do and my family want me to do? Because my family, when I take an oath of office, is the people I asked to let me represent them. The greatest honor you could ever have is to be a representative. City Council, I was on there. State Assembly, I was in there. Now I'm in this grand building room, the most beautiful room, I think, picked across this nation as a Senate and a legislative room and office. And you know what they did? They elected me overwhelmingly. And you know why we're all going to come back next time? Even though you turned our lives, our families' lives, and the world upside down, you matched us up together, you did the big lie. You did the big lie. You're going to need a bigger mask. We're going to win. We're going to win for one reason. We're going to tell the truth. Thank you, Mr. President.